Hey there. You're maybe here because you have, say, an assignment for your educational psychology class, where you have to put together some grid of different psychology education theorists or something. Or more likely, because you just have this affinity for cringeworthy education videos made by overreaching music majors. Either way, let me tell you about Edward Thorndike.
Facing life or death, I was a thug ever since my mama gave me breath.
So perhaps you were sitting there thinking to yourself, boy, I'd like to learn more about some educational psychologists. Neither was I. But alas, here we are. Edward Lee Thorndike was born in Williamsburg, Massachusetts, August 31st, 1874. He was the son of a minister and had two brothers, the younger of which was much cooler than Edward, being a scholar in the history of medieval science and magic. But that is not what this video is about, unfortunately. After earning his bachelor's from Wesleyan University, he attended Harvard, graduating in 1897. While there, he developed an interest in ethology, the study of animal behavior. This interest would later lead him to experiments that would be the basis of his theory of connectionism, from which he would derive his famous law of effect. It was the turn of the century, and an exciting time for America. The time of Roosevelt, the U.S. Steel Corporation, and the Ford Motor Company. Having graduated at Harvard a few years earlier, and completing his doctoral degree the following year at Columbia University, Thorndike married his sweetheart, Elizabeth, in 1900, and began a family. After an unhappy year of employment at a women's college in Ohio, he began work as a psychology instructor at the Teachers College of Columbia University. He bought a large plot of land on the Hudson River and encouraged other researchers to move in around him, forming a kind of tribe with Thorndike as its chief. It was then that he began what would be the defining work of his life, his experiments in connectionism. Thorndike began to build puzzle boxes, wherein would be placed a cat. The cat would press a button or a bar, or pull a lever, which was attached to a string that ran over a series of pulleys. Attached to the other end of the string was a pin, which fastened to the door. The pin would pull out, releasing the door and causing it to open, and the animal would be freed. He repeated the experiment many times with each cat, timing every trial. He discovered each cat to consistently make improvements with each subsequent trial. From his experiments, Thorndike began to derive statements which he would generalize into his law of effect, which essentially states that behaviors followed by satisfying consequences tend to be repeated, and those that produce unpleasant consequences are less likely to be repeated. In essence, the law of effect introduced the relationship between reinforcers and punishers, a relationship further studied by such researchers as B.F. Skinner, and operant conditioning was born. Thorndike's work was well received by the psychological community. Connectionism and the law of effect would become instrumental in the development of behavioral psychology, particularly in schools, and he became known as the father of educational psychology. For more information on the law of effect, get ready to pause the video so you don't miss the... Shoot, you missed it. It's okay. Just rewind, find the spot, pause it, and then come back to this spot. Okay. Cool. Okay, so where was I? Oh, yes. Edward Thorndike paved the way for future educational and behavioral psychologists, and laid the foundation for the operant conditioning principles of reward and punishment, particularly in the classroom, leaving a trail of frustrated cats behind him.